Welcome to 25/7 Tech. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. I'm actually going to do a product review on my cell phone. There's a reason why I want to do a product review on my cell phone, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. So how do you know you're getting the right cell phone for you? Well, cell phones really aren't just cell phones anymore. I mean, 10, 12 years ago, even earlier cell phones, really all you could do with them was make calls, send or receive texts. That kind of came after the phone call thing. So really, they really couldn't do much. It was there as a means of communication, and a lot of times it was very expensive communication early on. Now, we've evolved significantly since the original iPhone debuted, came out, and it kind of changed the world of cell phones because your cell phone isn't really just a cell phone anymore. Your cell phone is the way you stay connected to the world. It's your entertainment. And most of the time, I watch more video on my cell phone than I do on any TV or computer in my house. So, my cell phone, what makes a cell phone good for you? In a lot of cases, people resort to usability. That's why you have the most popular out there is going to be your iPhone. Very well optimized and well built. Then you're going to have the Samsung line with Android. They really are the leader and undisputed. There's not too many out there that have gone through the life cycles, and now we're up to the S10. They're talking about the 11 already. There's a lot going on out there. Now, I don't have either of those devices simply because there's reasons why I don't like what they're doing. Um, Apple started out by giving you the least capable hardware that's optimized by the most software. So iOS has always been optimized to take maximum advantage of what the processor is doing, how much RAM it has, the capacity of the battery, the resolution of the screen. Then Samsung really kind of started doing the same thing. You get a lot of good specs, don't get me wrong, it's good specs, but the software is absolutely optimized. Their latest OS, Samsung One, I believe it's called, is going to be absolutely optimized for the latest flagship device, the 10 series. You have the 10, the Note 10, the 10 Plus, and they tried some things with the Fold that was pretty interesting. Now, since we've talked about a couple other models, I want to talk about mine. So here we have the Nubia Red Magic 3S. And a lot of people might be saying, I've never heard of this thing. So a little bit of history. Nubia is a company that was originally started out by ZTE in 2015. And then in 2017, Nubia bought themselves pretty much out of Nubia. And Red Magic is the high-tech gaming branch of Nubia. So Nubia, if you Google them, you will find that they have some devices out there. They don't have a lot of devices. I kind of like that. They're keeping it simple. They have a very simple line. And then the Red Magic line, now on its third generation, with one improvement being the 3S. So this phone, I'll cover some quick specs. As you'll see, it is a metal construction phone, metal back, sides, the front glass. It's Corning Gorilla Glass 2.5 is what the site said. The display itself is a 6.65-inch screen. It's going to give you full high def, which is a 1080p resolution, and it's an OLED display. So OLED gives you good battery performance, battery life, because each pixel has its own backlight, and in the black areas, it's going to actually not have a backlight on, whereas in a IPS display, LCD display, it has one backlight, and it actually has to wash out the light in order to give you black. So that's going to give you some better performance. Now, as far as the specs of this phone, so this phone came out, and it's going to have 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of memory. Now that you can get an upgraded model that can give you 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of memory. Now it is UFS 3.0 memory, so it's the latest, the fastest read-write speeds that you can get. As far as the processor, that's another thing. This phone came out in September, and it has the 855 Plus, the Snapdragon 855 Plus. Now, that's an overclocked version of the 855. 2.86 for the 855, I believe, and 2.94 for the 855 Plus, I believe. Fact check me, absolutely not a problem. GPU is an Adreno 640. You have your typical fingerprint sensor, G sensor, electronic compass, gyroscope, proximity, ambient light sensor, and a sensor hub. As far as ports, it's USB-C on the bottom. There's some unique things I really liked about the phone, and I say unique to this phone. Stuff's been done in the past, but you have two front-firing speakers. It does have DTS-X Ultra to give you some virtual surround sound, and it actually has a small vent on the bottom for this speaker to give you that rear effect, that rear sound effect. And here's the best thing that I absolutely love about this phone: a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. The Samsung Galaxy has a 3,300, I believe, milliamp hour battery, the S10. And here's the thing: when you're running this kind of a processor, this fast of a processor, especially if you're doing processor intensive tasks such as streaming or playing games, it's going to kill that battery. With a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, I will tell you, with average use, I've never gotten below 50% on a full day. And I start my day at 5 a.m. and end my day at 10 p.m. So it's a long day, and I'm never below 50%. It is phenomenal having a long battery life. It supports all the major bands as far as coverage in the United States. The one band it doesn't have is band 71, and that's really common to handsets that are manufactured, designed, engineered in China. I guess it's really expensive to put that band in there with the modem, and we can live without that. In my area, we don't even have band 71 in operation out here. As far as the display, here we are, 19.5 to 9 aspect ratio. That's a lot more common in flagship handsets these days. 16 by 9 is not that common too much anymore, but the 19 by 9 or 19.5 by 9 is really good. The rear camera, 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor. So it's an outstanding sensor. They claim it can shoot 8K resolution video at 15 frames per second, but I haven't tried it yet. They say it's for outdoor use only. The front camera is a 16 megapixel, really great, not bad. So real world use, what I'm going to talk about with real world use. I've had this phone for about 2 weeks now. I came from a Galaxy S8, and here I have this phone. So first thing you're going to realize is that it comes with a very bare version of Android. They say this is about as close as you're going to get to out of the box Android as possible, and I believe it. It's not optimized at all. The Samsung, of course, is going to be completely optimized. I've used an S10, and I think it's a great device. It's really well put together, and it's really well optimized. Gives you a fantastic user experience. Me, I personally like the little bit more raw feel. I like the ability to just kind of put my own apps on it. If I want to put a cleaner app on there, that's great. I don't need a built-in bloatware in order to slow the machine down. As far as performance use, it's extremely smooth. It works so well day to day, switching apps, looking up the news, watching videos. It's a great phone. And before we get into the gaming features, I'm going to talk price. This phone right now, where you can go to Red Magic's website and buy it, $479 US, $479. So for $479, I can get a spec'd out flagship phone with an 855 plus processor, 8 gigs of RAM, and 128 gigs of storage. That is phenomenal. There are a couple things with the phone that you don't get. So you're not going to have wireless charging. There's no NFC, and there's no expandable storage. All three of those things I can pretty much live without. I would imagine that most people can live without. While the wireless charging is a neat feature, I've had it on my S8. I found it to be too slow. You want your charging to go pretty fast. Wireless charging is much slower, and it really causes the device to heat up. I don't like my devices getting crazy hot. Now, that's going to bring me to my next point. This is the only phone in the world that has an internal cooling fan. And what you'll see here is, if you look right here, this is the inlet to the cooling fan, and this is the exhaust to the cooling fan. And yes, it works. It works very well. I've played several rounds of Fortnite on this phone, and I have seen zero heat issues. You barely feel it through the phone, which is amazing because it's a metal construction phone, which transmits heat very well. I have had no problems with this device. It's absolutely phenomenal. Now, as far as other flagship gaming phones like the Asus ROG Phone 2, it's going to have your shoulder buttons. These buttons are touch sensitive, and you can program them to perform certain functions in your game. I think that's probably the best feature of a gaming phone, simply because as opposed to not having those buttons on shooters such as Fortnite or Call of Duty Mobile, you can't aim and shoot at the same time. Having these shoulder buttons, I can aim and shoot at the same time, and it's a clear advantage. It's a phenomenal advantage. As far as the gaming, so what you're going to see is on the side of the phone right here is a slider switch, this little red switch. Whenever I switch this phone, and I'm going to go ahead and switch it while you're watching it, it's going to put it into gaming mode. So here, in gaming mode, you have a menu that you can select games through. And whenever you launch these games, you're automatically running the cooling fan. You have the option to block notifications and phone calls. You have the option to push your performance, put it in performance mode that's going to push the CPU to overclock. And you can then map all of those buttons and functions for the shoulder buttons. Now, there's some additional little niceties that you get with a gaming phone. On the back, you have this LED strip that's going to give you some really neat light effects. This also lights up. It's the Red Magic logo. And then you get this other little drawer. I call it app drawer, but the typical Android app drawer goes away. And then you have this smaller drawer that gives you the ability to turn on and off the fan, block your messages and calls. You can do in-game screen recording. You can monitor your CPU temperature, your CPU frequency, your GPU frequency, and your network performance. This is phenomenal. All of the work that they would have put into the bloatware to optimize Android, they put into this gaming interface. It's absolutely amazing. And oh, by the way, when you put it into game mode, it disables automatic brightness, and you can set to a static brightness. And that way you get a really good experience in the game. It's not increasing or decreasing your brightness while you're playing the game. I think this gaming interface is probably the best part about the phone. Whenever I just want to jump into a game, I turn that switch on, and then I can launch my game from here. It's super easy. It's really clean. There's some additional features that we just don't have time to cover. However, a lot of it's like Red Magic Time, these other things that you can learn about on their website. You can go into this interface here and control the speed of the fan. And yes, it does work. You can, in intelligent mode, it's going to adjust the speed of the fan based on the temperature of the CPU. You can put it to rapid cooling, and it just goes to full speed right away. That's absolutely amazing. You can adjust the screen recording quality and settings of your screen recording. I'm going to go out there and say that there's no other phone in the world that can do what this phone does right now. The Asus ROG Phone 2 looks really good. It's very expensive, depending on where you buy it, $800 to $900 or more, depending on where you buy it. This phone for under $500, this is amazing. It's an absolutely astounding device. It has performance. It has space memory. It has the battery capacity that I was looking for. This thing could last years. It's almost future-proofed right out of the box. It's absolutely amazing. The sound from the speakers is outstanding. And for anyone that has a really high-quality pair of headphones, you still get the headphone jack. The headphone jack, to me, is just so important. I have a good pair of headphones. They sound really well. V-Modas, I'm going to be reviewing them in another video, but they sound so much better whenever you go with the headphone jack and wired. It just sounds that much better. And the headphones sound amazing on this phone with that DTS-X headphone. So there are some other things as far as these pins on the bottom for accessories. There are some accessories for the phone through Red Magic. It's a great device. I recommend for anyone, if you're looking to upgrade your device and you want to get some flagship specs for less than $500, the Red Magic 3S is the way to go. You could wait a year. They're already talking about the Red Magic 4 with the 865 processor potentially up to 144, I believe, hertz display. This one has a 90 hertz display, which is amazing. The frame rate, it's awesome. And they're talking about the Red Magic 4 being 5G capable. So really great stuff. I love what the company is doing. I recommend, I'll leave the link in the description. Head out to their site, check them out. If you like the phone, order it. Leave us in the comments if you have any questions about this device, or if you want us to review another device. Leave it in the comments. We'll get to it as soon as we can. If you like what we're doing, please hit subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and we'll see you next time.